In the spring of 1943, deep inside a U.S. Army training ground in Texas, an ordinary exercise began like hundreds of others during World War II. A full infantry platoon moved out before dawn, following orders written on paper and trusted without question. By nightfall, none of them had returned. Their disappearance was never fully explained, and with time, it quietly faded from record. By 1943, the United States was fully committed to World War II. Across the country, vast training installations expanded almost overnight. Texas, with its open land and mild winters, became a critical hub for preparing infantry units destined for Europe and the Pacific. Thousands of young men arrived by train each week, most barely out of high school. They were issued uniforms, rifles, and numbers. Their names mattered less than their readiness. The platoon at the center of this story was assigned to a routine field training cycle. It consisted of 42 enlisted men and 3 junior officers. Most had been together for less than 6 months. They trained hard, but nothing about them stood out. They were not an experimental unit. They were not special forces. They were standard infantry, learning movement, navigation, and coordination under simulated combat conditions. The exercise scheduled for that week was designed to test endurance and command discipline. According to surviving paperwork, the platoon was ordered to conduct a long-range navigation drill across a restricted section of the training grounds. The area was sparsely mapped, marked as safe, used before by other units. The men were instructed to move light. No vehicles. Limited radio use. The goal was realism. Officers briefed the platoon the night before. Weather reports predicted low visibility. Fog in the early morning. Heat by midday. Nothing unusual for Texas. The route was outlined on basic maps. Landmarks were few. Dry riverbeds. Scrubland. Occasional fencing from old ranch boundaries. The platoon was expected to complete the movement and report back within 12 hours. At first light, they stepped off. Witnesses later recalled seeing the platoon march out in silence. Rifles slung. Helmets secured. Dust rising behind their boots. No one recorded the moment as significant. Training units departed daily. No one watched them go for long. As the morning passed, radio check-ins were expected. None came. At first, this was not alarming. Radio discipline was often intentionally restricted. By afternoon, range controllers attempted contact again. Still nothing. By evening, the platoon was officially overdue. Command assumed delay. A missed checkpoint. A broken radio. Standard explanations. Orders were given to wait until morning. The training ground fell quiet. The night passed without incident. When dawn came, the platoon was still missing. Search operations began cautiously. Training accidents were not uncommon, but complete silence from an entire platoon was rare. Officers first dispatched a small recon detail along the planned route. They found footprints. Boot impressions consistent with issued Army footwear. The tracks led into rougher terrain than expected. Maps were checked again. Some sections were outdated. Boundaries unclear. Over years, the land had changed. Old quarry pits. Sinkholes. Unmarked ravines. Areas once fenced were now open. Others had collapsed inward. By midday, the search expanded. More units were pulled from training rotations. Trucks moved along perimeter roads. Spotters scanned from elevated ground. Still, there was no sign of the platoon. No equipment. No spent ammunition. No discarded rations. Then something unsettling emerged. The footprints ended abruptly near a dry creek bed. No signs of struggle. No scattering. Just a sudden stop. Nearby, a single helmet was found. Regulation issue. No damage. It lay upright, as if placed there. The name inside was partially faded. Command ordered the area sealed. As hours turned into days, pressure grew. The Army could not afford unexplained losses on home soil during wartime. Reports were drafted carefully. Language softened. Unaccounted for replaced missing. Families were not notified immediately. Investigations moved inward, not outward. Some officers speculated about navigational error. Others suggested exposure. Heat exhaustion. But no bodies were found. No remains. No clear evidence of death. The land was searched repeatedly. On foot. On horseback. With aerial passes. Nothing. Rumors spread quietly among the ranks. Men spoke of old mine shafts. Of sudden ground collapse. Of gas pockets trapped beneath the soil. These theories were never confirmed. None appeared in official summaries. After 2 weeks, the search was scaled back. Training schedules resumed. The missing platoon was removed from active rosters. Equipment was reissued. Barracks reassigned. Paperwork closed the matter without conclusion. Internally, the incident was classified as a training loss under unresolved circumstances. No public statement was released. Local newspapers never printed a story. Wartime censorship made such silence routine. The platoon did not exist anymore. Only a few documents remained. Incomplete. Redacted. Filed away. The final official action occurred 19 days after the platoon vanished. A high-ranking inspection team arrived from outside the training command. Their task was not to search the land, but to examine procedures. Orders. Command responsibility. Witnesses later recalled the tone was cold and efficient. The inspectors reviewed maps that contradicted each other. Training boundaries drawn years apart. Areas once deemed safe had never been properly surveyed. One internal memo noted that the platoon may have crossed into a zone previously marked as unstable terrain. The notation was brief. No explanation followed. A second memo addressed liability. The Army was expanding faster than its infrastructure. Training grounds were stretched thin. Oversight gaps were inevitable. The disappearance of an entire platoon threatened more than lives. It threatened confidence. The conclusion reached was administrative. The platoon was officially declared lost during a training operation. No cause specified. No further inquiry authorized. Files were sealed under wartime discretion. Personal effects were gathered. Letters returned unopened. Footlockers emptied. Uniforms burned or reassigned. The men were listed as deceased without remains. Families received delayed notifications with limited details. No memorial was erected. Within the base, the incident was not discussed. New recruits arrived. New units trained. Officers rotated out. The land where the platoon vanished remained in use. Exercises continued nearby. Boots marched over the same ground. Years later, a single training manual revision quietly altered navigation procedures in that region. No reference was made to why. No marker was placed on the map. Those who searched hardest eventually left the service. Their recollections faded. What remained was silence reinforced by bureaucracy. The platoon had vanished not only from the land, but from history. The training ground did not change after they were gone. The wind moved the same way through the dry grass. Boots continued to march nearby. Orders were still shouted at dawn. The land gave nothing back. Maps were quietly updated. Boundaries were adjusted. Certain areas were marked with new caution lines. No explanation was attached. No reference to the platoon appeared in official revisions. Inside administrative offices, folders were thinned. Names were typed once more, then removed. A platoon designation was reassigned to a different group of men. Paper absorbed the loss without resistance. Families received notices weeks later. The language was careful, vague. Lost during a training operation. No remains recovered. No further details available. Some asked questions. Most received no reply. The war required focus elsewhere. Europe. The Pacific. Texas faded into the background. No marker was placed on the land. No cross. No plaque. No warning sign. The soil remained open. Silent. Those who had searched hardest eventually left the service. Their memories blurred with time. Stories were told less often. Then not at all. What could not be proven was not repeated. Years later, the training ground changed names. New units arrived. New recruits learned the terrain without knowing what had happened there. They marched across the same soil. They camped nearby. They never noticed what was missing. The platoon disappeared twice. Once from the field. Once from record. There were no photographs displayed in museums. No citations. No official after-action report made public. Only fragments remained. A line in a ledger. A helmet number. A faded map annotation. History did not record an ending. Only an absence. The ground stayed quiet. The paperwork stayed sealed. The silence held. And the platoon, once present and accounted for, passed fully into forgetting. Thank you for watching. New historical stories are published regularly.